I'm going to play baseball, but I'm going to play it for not just myself. It's not for my contract. It's not for the house or the boat or all that other stuff that you can buy. I want to play for a reason. I need a purpose to play, and that's when I started getting into a lot of my stuff. I do humanitarian stuff, and I do with youth culture.
Viva Cuba Libre! Welcome into episode number 14 of the Picked Off Podcast with Mike and Eric. We continue now with our interview with former Major League pitcher, three-time World Series champion Jeremy Affeldt. If you haven't heard part 1 of our interview, please go to episode 13 before listening to this episode.
Going to the game, we're going to play, and I'm sitting there, and Nipper comes up to me and says, "Aff, we need to see you in the office." I'm like, all right. So here we go. I'm going to send down AAA. Try to keep a good attitude. Man, you're 22. I was telling myself everything. Just, hey, like, whatever. So I sit down, and Muser looks at me, and Nipper's sitting there. He's like, well, how do you feel about double-decker stadiums? I'm like, whatever, because AAA has them. So I'm like,
sure.
I guess they're double-deckers. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I just got to do my job. He's like, well, where we're going, there's 3 decks. And I looked at him, and I said, what? He said, son, where you're going, there's 3 decks. Can you do it? And I went, what? He's like, son, I'm telling you, you made the team. And I was like, wait, like this team? He's like,
Major League team?
He's like, yes, sir. I said, congratulations, son. And I literally was trying not to cry. I said, sir, I'm trying not to cry. He's like, no, you probably should cry. This is probably a good time to cry. Son, you just made your freaking boyhood dream come true. This is probably when you want to cry. And I'm like, well, thank you, sir. And I remember I was like, I don't know what to do. He's like, well, you probably should make a phone call. I'm sure some of your family want it. I'm like, yes, sir. He's like, you don't need to be on time for the game. And I walk out, and the veteran Bolton Grimsley, he was there the other night, right?
Jason, yeah.
So Jason was at the golf tournament. He was all out there, and they're all standing there looking at me, and they're smiling. And they said, congrats, kid. And he gave me a hug. He said, now it's going to be a long road because now you're in our bullpen. And we're a bunch of veterans, so it's going to be a lot longer than you think. Yeah. So get ready. And I'm like, well, I don't know what that means, but it sounds great.
You're going to find out real quick.
Yeah, I found out. But I ran out and called my dad. That's the first. I called my dad, and I said, Dad. He's like, yeah. I said, I just made the team. He's like, what? And I'm like, I made the team, Dad. And he freaking hung up on me. I'm like, what the?
He thought you were a prank caller or something?
Yeah, so I know. I called him back, and he's crying. He's like, Jeremy, he was freaking out, man. He was freaking out. He's like, I can't, son. Like, this is my mom's on the phone. She's like, oh, my gosh. And I'm like, I didn't have a suit. I didn't have anything. I had to have a suit. So I had to literally drive into town and go buy a suit at, like, whatever the suit store is, Brooks Brothers, whatever. I had to have a suit, getting on a big league plane, getting to the stadium. Food was amazing. I'm like, this is great. No more peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Carries your luggage for you.
I didn't touch anything.
White balls for batting practice, like they said.
It was awesome. It was great.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Wow.
We're talking with 14-year Major League veteran and 3-time World Series champion Jeremy Affeldt. We're having a wonderful conversation on his life and experiences in the major leagues, and we'll get to what it was like playing in the major leagues in a sort your rookie year. I mean, you told us some stories on Monday, and expand on some of that. What was it like? Because from what I understand, what a lot of the guys say, it's hard to get to the big leagues, but it's even harder still to stay in the big leagues.
Staying is tough, man. Cup of coffees are normal. There's a lot of guys. There's not a lot of guys that do it, but enough guys that can get there. It's staying there. Very few get past that 3, 4, 5 year mark, and very few get past 10. And then there's even a lot less at 15 and 20, right? So there's a lot to it. But going in that first year, I mean, you got your uniforms. One are custom fit, so they're all of a sudden in your locker. They have exact measurements. They fit perfect how you want them to fit. You're not in those little minor league where they have like this, cardboard pants where the guy from 3 years ago wore it. Still, you have new stuff. You walk in. There's a guy making food for you. There's food. The training rooms are spectacular, and then you sit back and you get your locker's massive, and you sit back and you just think about it. But then you watch all the guys that are veterans, and they're just like having a good time, and they're taping up, and let's go, kid. We're
it's a day at the office.
For them, it's good, but they're used to it. I'm like, oh, man, these uniforms are. I mean, this is a big league uniform. Then you walk out into BP and you're walking on these big league fields, and they're hitting, and your mounds are perfect. The grass is pristine. and the balls are all white, like you said, and they get new balls all the time. They don't reuse them very. I mean, it's every 3 or 4 days they turn them out, right? And so like, it's just amazing, and everything about it is amazing, and your spreads are great, and they give you your 7 and 7, which is like 7 days, because they let you go find a place. They got to give you some money to find a place, so they give you a 7 and 7 union. Work that in 7 days of meal money, 7 days of living housing. So they give you your 7 and 7 check. So you can go try to find a place, and I'm looking around trying to find an apartment because I had to find an apartment last second. So I get there, and car gets there, and man, I'm just sitting around, and every day I come to the. We had a couple days that year. We didn't do scrimmages like they do now, like right before they go play other teams. So we had like 3 or 4 days to work out. Got used to it. Then opening day, my parents are coming out. My now ex-wife, she came out for the opening day ceremonies, and we were sitting there. And I can remember Kansas City. I remember walking onto the field and getting announced on opening day. I mean, opening day. So you got to be a part of all of it.
Everybody goes on the lines. Yeah. Everybody gets announced. Right?
And I didn't know at the time, but I never didn't have an opening day. Once I made it, I never left. So like I had 14 opening days, you know. So the opening day, I run and they call your name and you run out and people cheer because they've heard. I remember walking through the line giving high fives, and I was like, man, that was loud. They don't even know who I am. And one of the guys goes, kid, they've been reading articles on you for the last 6 weeks in spring training. They know exactly who you are.
That's right. You could be the answer to a turnaround.
Yeah. So they're like, so they cheered, and I was like standing there. And then we had the White Sox come out, and they got brought up. And, I mean, I got mentally messed up right out the gate. I mean, you walk out there, and actually, was it the White Sox that we opened up with the Twins? It might have been no, I think it was the White Sox. It was the White Sox. And so I remember getting announced, and then they get announced, and I'm like, all right. And then opening day, Jeff Supon's pitching, and I'm in the bullpen, and I'm just watching the game. I'm taking it in. I'm just taking it all in, and all of a sudden, I think Frank Thomas has a broken bat homer, and I'm like, I don't think I'm going to last up here. I'm like, that guy just broke his bat and hit a homer. I was like, I think this is above my pay grade. Like I was like,
he set the bar pretty high, though. I mean, he's pretty big himself.
Yeah, I was like, he just broke his bat, and the guys in the bullpen are like, yep, this is the big leagues, kid. We got to get after it. Be ready. And I'm watching them get ready for the game. I didn't pitch the first game. They just kind of let me take it all in. I think it was the second or third game I pitched in, and I remember, and I get up there, and I'm just like, all right. They get put in the game, and I look up, and the first guy I come in, and it's Kenny Lofton. And I remember, I'm like, oh, that's Kenny Lofton. I'm facing Kenny Lofton in a big league game, not in spring training.
Right.
This is a big league.
It's for real.
This is for real. They're not just taking their little. I get paid to do this. Strike him out. Strike out the first guy I face. Strike him out fastball in, and at 95 right inside.
Give me that ball.
And yeah, and they threw it out. Singleton Lofton tipped his hat. He's like, hey man, pretty good. So I get in there, and I think it's the third guy. So I get the next guy, and the third guy, Frank Thomas, gets in the box, and I'm like, oh, and I literally was like, oh my gosh, this guy is he's massive. Yeah. It's not like he's the biggest guy I've ever seen. Yeah. Like his freaking biceps are bigger than my legs, and I'm not exaggerating. He is so big.
Well, they didn't call him the big hurt for nothing.
Man, and I'm like, and he does his little toe tap, swing or whatever he does, and I'm like, okay. So I get in there, I'm like, just lock it down. And I remember I jammed him. He got a knock off me, but it was a broken bat blooper over second, and I won. I was like, win. I win.
Your first thought was Lisa didn't go over the fence.
He ain't going to steal second. So I'm like, great. That's awesome. And I remember I got out. So I think I got the next guy to pop up. Clean inning. Sat down, and Muser's like, that's all I needed. I was like, it felt so good, And then I had a great half. I started dominating quite a bit. Came in 2-3 innings at a time, pitching, just throwing, and then they made me a starter in Baltimore as my first start.
I'm looking at your numbers in 2002. You started off with a bang.
Yeah, I started off real good. Then all of a sudden I got blisters. And I got these finger blisters on my finger that were I had them a little bit in the minor leagues. But there's no seams in the big leagues, so you have to put a little more pressure. So I started getting a pincer. I had pincer nails, so I had this blister that was so bad, I went on the DL for it, and I lost my starting role because I couldn't repeat without getting these bad blisters. And Josh Beckett, who my agent had, also had the same type of blisters. So my agent was trying to figure out how to get
Yeah,
I was
you were
calling
lost
Josh.
for the entire month of June and July.
Yep. To all for blisters. I couldn't get rid of them. And you're young, so they're like, we're not going to. So
We're moving on.
Right. Muser gets fired. Mizrak comes in for a little bit, and then Tony Pena gets hired to be the manager. And at the end of that year, so I came back as a reliever, a setup type guy. I came back in that situation of like doing, but they want me to start. So then I go to winter ball. Tony Pena wanted me to go to winter ball. Dealt with blisters even more. Had a huge blister issue, and then they finally removed a quarter of my nail. I went in and saw a guy, and he said, he goes, I'm going to go in and kill it, but you're going to lose it, and I can't guarantee you're going to have feeling, and that's my control finger. I was a little nervous about it, but I'm like, well, I can't pitch. So they removed my nail, and then I kind of, for the rest of my career there, I started and relieved. Kind of did both. Back and forth, closed a little bit.
How frustrating was that?
Very frustrating because it's a different role. There's some guys that can do it. Madsen for Phillies did it pretty good. They kind of did both. They knew they would kind of still leave. They called it. I didn't like it because I like to be prepared. Starting was hard for me at the big leagues because I'd overthink it. By the time I got to the game, I'd be mentally spent because all I did was think about my start all day.
Yeah.
Rather than just show up and pitch. Relieving, that's what I did. So I was a lot better at that.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I became a setup man, but it was very frustrating to the point where I didn't like the game. And then going to Colorado, I found my love of the game again.
You told a great story Monday about how you found your love for the game and how it involved a homeless girl.
Yep.
Please expand on that story. Just retell it because it's an amazing account.
Yeah, getting traded to Colorado from Kansas City, it was needed. It was wanted. I didn't like it in Kansas City anymore. I was over there's no more rookie status. I had 5 years in the big leagues. Like, it was already a job for me.
Yeah.
So I didn't like it, and I wanted to quit or get released. I couldn't quit because I'm not a quitter. So so I was hoping I get released. I just didn't want to play. It just wasn't working out. So they traded me to Colorado, which was great. In the sense of like I wanted a fresh start. I didn't really necessarily know I'd go to Colorado. I was frustrated. I was just pouting about being in Colorado, getting put in a tough pitcher's ballpark, to not understanding why I was even around, why people still believing in me. I'm not enjoying going out there every day. I'm more scared because I'm tired of failing, and I want to actually – and even one good inning was like took a lot of stress off me because I just didn't have enough consistency. Mm-hmm. Walking around town just pouting one day, and I looked over and I saw this girl. She was a homeless girl that was outside of a Rite Aid, just a cup of noodles, torn clothes, black eye, probably had a rough night the night before. Went over, touched her on the shoulder, and said, "Hey, you." And she jumped away, and I said, "I don't want anything from you. I just want to know if you want something to eat." And she's like, "Yeah, please." So I went into Starbucks and I got her a blueberry muffin and a green sludgy drink, those naked drinks for some nutrients, and I handed them to her, and she ripped them out of my hands and said thank you. And like I said the other day, like it was probably only 5 seconds, but it felt a lot longer than that because at that moment something happened. This girl was sitting there. She was by herself. She was lonely. She probably didn't have anybody to talk to, and she didn't know where to go, and she was just on an island by herself. Well, I was lonely. I didn't know how I could tell I hated the game of baseball. I didn't know what my purpose was. And I felt like I was an island by myself. And yet I wear nice clothes. I'm staying at a 5-star hotel right now. I go to a cathedral to pitch in, fly on private jets with the team. And it's like, but our realities are the exact same in our minds. It just doesn't look that way. And I needed someone to let me know I existed. And I didn't have that because I didn't know who to talk to. And so and that girl didn't say thank you for like the food. She said thank you for letting me know I exist. Because that's what she was thinking. And I needed that. So when I went back to the field that day, I said, that's my purpose. I'm going to play baseball, but I'm going to play it for not just myself. It's not for my contract. It's not for the house or the boat or all that other stuff that you can buy. I want to play for a reason. I need a purpose to play. And that's when I started getting into a lot of my stuff. I do humanitarian stuff, and I do with youth culture, and I do a lot of give backs. And it's because I don't want to just work for a living. I want to work for a purpose. And that's what changed my career. And my back on my baseball card, it'll show it to you. It'll be that. So it's kind of what happened.
That's incredible. That experience obviously was a game changer for you. At that point in time, kind of where were you with your walk at that point?
With my walk, like with God?
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing for me because I was in my hotel room the night before and I was reading Matthew 25, where it says, if you give to the least of these, you give to me. And that was literally what I read before. And so when I went on that walk the next morning, I was like, well, that's pretty much the least of these. She's literally doesn't exist to people. So that really encouraged me because I was really trying to find a reason why God was not letting me go. Like, get me out of this baseball thing, man. I don't want to. And I think he saw so much more. So now that's like, all right, God, if this is what you want me to do, I got to have a purpose then. It can't be It can't be just to go out here and do good or bad. There's no way that this is how shallow my life can be. Like, this is terrible. And so he showed me purpose. And I had a great year in 2007. I met with a sports psychologist named David Cook. He wrote 7 Days in Utopia, great movie, even better book. And met with him for like 4 weeks, read his books, changed my career, started applying his stuff and trusting God and with my career and where I was going. Had an unbelievable 07, went to the World Series, lost to Boston, pitched all 4 of the World Series games. Got a pretty good deal with Cincinnati on a 1-year deal because I didn't want to be a part of. I had a couple other multi-year deals with some other teams, but Cincinnati offered me a starting job to try to start again. Didn't even make it out of camp before they made me a reliever. I lost my job to a guy named Cueto. Probably a good move. Probably a good move on that. So
it worked out okay.
Yeah, so it was probably a good move on that. So, and I didn't know why I was in Cincinnati. I was so mad. I'm like, you had me come here to Cincinnati. It's another small ballpark. Didn't know. But then David Weathers was my teammate, and about 2 months left of the season, he looked at me and said, "You're going to start throwing a sinker." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Because you throw 98 miles an hour, and it goes 498 feet." And I'm like, "All right."
He's for the like, first 60 feet and 5 inches, it's a heck of a pitch.
Yeah, and then they hit it, and it goes a long way because you're not missing a bat, man, because everything's belt high. You're throwing your heater as hard as you can. You throw your curveball. Well, if it in your curveball, it's good, but it doesn't have any. You have your good curveball, and then you have a high fastball. So they're only looking here.
They're starting from the same viewpoint.
I want you to, and they're going to just take your curveball, and they're going to swing at your heater. So for me, it's like you need something where they go down and see the top of the baseball. I'm going to show you how to throw a sinker. He threw a good one of the best. Played 18 years throwing a sinker. So he's like, here's how I'm going to show you my sinker, and we're going to practice every day. So I got the field early, practiced with my sinker with him every day, and he goes, I want you to think 80%. You think 80%, throw it up there and see what it does. So I get playing Houston, and I'm facing Lance Berkman, and he's with my agent. And Lance steps into the box. Right? Yep, he steps into the box, and I faced him a few times. I have to face Houston every time. I'm Cincinnati. We're the same league. At that time, same division.
Right.
They were still in the National League. And I'm a lefty, so I'm facing him every time. So he gets up there, curveball, fastball, and he wants a fastball away. Paul Bacco calls fastball away, and he gave me the sinker because we told him a sinker. He said he wants a sinker. I'm like, and he looked at me. He's like, this is the time to do it, dude. So I'm like, okay, think 80%. And I remember throwing it up there, and I just threw it 80%. And when you think 80%, you're loose. It was still 92 miles an hour. Sure. Probably wasn't 80%. You just felt like it was. Finished it, and I remember Lance hit a ground ball, and he topped it to second base, and he yells coming out of the box, and he looks over at me. He's like, you have a sinker now? And I look at him, and I'm like, we get him out, and he comes back. He's like, seriously, was that a sinker? I don't. Did it sink? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know.
Cool.
And he's like, you don't know? And he keeps running back to the dugout. Because it's not in their scouting report. There's no sinker when they're approaching me.
Right.
So then the next day, I got to face him. And he looks at me, curveball, four-seam high and in. Curveball, fouls it off. And he's like, throw a fastball. I said, give me part of your $16 million. I'll throw it right down the middle. And he's like, so he's getting all frustrated. Throw another curveball at him. And he's looking at me. He's like, oh. And then Baco's like, sinker away. Boom, sinker, boom, ground ball right back to me. I catch it. Run over, and he's running up the line, and he's like, you better not make me run all the way up this line. He's yelling at me out of the side of his mouth. So I get through it the first. I threw it the first, and he kind of stopped, and he ran back. He's like, that is a sinker. It's not in our scouting report, and you have a sinker. I'm like, did it sink? And he just shook his head, and he ran back. So then we're facing him in Houston. And he looks at me, he goes, you throw me that curveball, I'm going to hit it off your forehead. I'm like, all right. Curveball. He takes it, and he looks at me, he gives me the look. He's shaking his head. Then I throw him a sinker. Well, now the league knows I'm throwing a sinker because that's all I'm throwing now. I'm throwing most sinkers.
Or it gets around fast.
Yeah, so he's kind of sitting there, fouls it off, takes it, so sinker. And I remember I was like, and I threw him a curveball, boom, and he went, bow, and he hit it right off my freaking shin.
Oh.
Boom! I'm like, oh, and it shoots into the outfield for a hit. I looked over at him. He said, "You're lucky it wasn't your forehead, but I told you I was going to hit." I was like, all right. So he gets to third, and I get out of it, throw a bunch of sinkers. Throw a sinker at Hunter Pence, got a big jam. And he's at third base taking his stuff off, and I look at the line, and I'm like, pretty good right there. He's like, you keep throwing that curveball, I'm going to keep hitting it off your freaking face. I'm like, all right. So I threw him curveballs still, but it was great banter. But that's why I went to Cincinnati. I think God put me in Cincinnati because he's like, I need you to learn a sink. Went to San Francisco the next year, threw sinkers, curveballs for the rest of my career, added a split at the end.
It seemed to work out okay.
And I had unbelievable double play balls, and that was my career, and it was my best run in San Francisco.
We're talking with Jeremy Affeldt, 3-time World Series champion with the San Francisco Giants. We're getting inside the lines and inside the clubhouse. This is a great conversation. Jeremy, tell us about how your signing with San Francisco came about and how did it become a great fit for you.
So before I signed with Cincinnati, the year before, San Francisco offered me a lowball deal for 2 years. And I got so, actually insulted by their deal, I actually told my agent, tell him I'll never talk to him. Don't ever call me.
Brian Sabian did this?
Yep. I'll never call you. Don't ever call me again. And Sabian had told my agent, well, we don't know what we're getting. There's the 07 guy, but then there's also the 06 guy that had a 5. So it's like, well, I can't just give him, I don't know. And Sabian's smart. He's a good friend of mine to this day. He's smart. He knows what he's doing. So he's like, I can't just take that risk. So I doubled up. I threw 77 ball games, 72 innings in Cincinnati, which is a lot. I mean, Dusty threw me all the time. And they saw longevity, and they saw strike throwing. They saw, half my walks, because Dusty likes to intentionally walk a lot. So I intentionally walk. Half my walks were intentional. So I took this deal. They gave me everything I wanted. And I told my agent, I said, I don't ever want to sign in San Francisco. He's like, Jeremy, they need you to prove it. You proved it. But here's the deal. You wanted to be on the West Coast. You wanted to be close to a flight home for your family. You wanted a certain amount of money, and you wanted a multi-year deal. I just got every single thing you wanted. I just landed in a 5-minute phone call, and Sabian didn't mess around, and he offered you exactly what you wanted. How he knew that, I don't know. There's obviously everybody likes to try to figure that out, how they know exactly what you want.
Yeah.
But he's like, they gave it to you. Okay, sign it. So I signed it, and then when I went in, I had my deal with what I want to do with youth, what I wanted to do in the humanitarian side of things. Cincinnati never got me involved in anything because I'm a one-year guy as a rental player.
But that's all about San Francisco.
Yeah, and it's all it is. And San Francisco, they were like, I went in, and that's the first thing I said to them when I went in to meet with everybody, and they said, we got you. They got me plugged in to every single youth organization. They got me in I loved it. Because I got to be a part of something with purpose. I put my money where my mouth is. I wanted to be a part of all of it. And I really enjoyed it. And some guys like it, some guys don't. But I like being out there and hanging out with people. But
the legacy too, Mays, McCovey,
all
Vida Blue, all those guys.
They're all part of it.
Yeah.
The little giants. All that
junior
stuff.
Giants.
Yeah, the junior giants. All that stuff. Getting gloves away and McCovey setting all that up. It was all about giving back to the community and being a good person. And playing good baseball. Yeah. And it was a perfect storm because I don't think anybody thought that we'd win 3 world titles. But I think that 09 I came into a crazy deal. Bochy wanted a strike thrower out of the bullpen to get to Wilson. And he had Romo coming up. He knew what he had with Romo. He only had a year with him, so he didn't want to jump to conclusions. And then we signed Bob Howery, good friend of mine, threw strikes. That's all he throws, the fastball away. Paints this freaking strike zone right in the corner. He just paints. And we all threw strikes, and we got out of big jams together. We started running a bullpen. Then you had Kane coming into his own. Lincecum was a Cy Young Award winner the year before and that year. Greatest pitcher I've ever seen in his heyday. And then you had Zito struggled. He was trying to find himself.
Right.
And then you had Jonathan Sanchez,
who threw a no-hitter.
Against San Diego that year.
Right.
Yep. So we had some good guys that were starting to come into their own. He just wanted a bullpen to seal it up. And we did it. And all of a sudden, we ended up getting that last month and a half of 09. Fans actually started coming to the ballpark because they started trusting the situation. We had a great turnout. We ended the year with sold-out houses. We were freaking winning. It was awesome. And then 2010 came in. And
this guy comes in from Leesburg, Georgia.
Buster was in camp with us in 09, but he was a professional from the get-go. He walked into camp. Everybody knew he was an $8 million guy. All of a sudden, some kid gets $8 million. He's going to be probably this prima donna. He didn't say a word. Came in, put his gear on. Benji Molina worked with him every day. They caught. He listened, hit, and Buster for his whole career he's a pretty good listener. That's why he's a good president. So, so he could listen, but he just took it in. He didn't try to be loud. He didn't try to be. I mean, he was a different guy. I'm like, I don't know if this guy's going to make it. He's too quiet. There's not enough, stuff going on.
He's the opposite of Will Clark, who was our last celebrated rookie. I mean,
right.
Because he came in, he was brash, boisterous.
Yeah. Just kind of, he came from that Mississippi redneck scenario, and the next thing you know, so and then he gets called up in 2009, and he caught me a few times, and he hit and did okay. I was like, all right, he'd be all right. Well, then 2010 comes around, and we've been hearing the whole time he's been tearing it up. I mean, he's just tearing up AAA. He's just killing everything, and we started.
Trust me, there were a lot of hard conversations and intense conversations among the Giants faithful.
Yeah.
About when are we going to bring this kid up, and where are we going to play him? Are we going to play catcher or play first base?
You need his bat.
You need his bat, but I want him behind the plate because we haven't had a decent catcher in 40 years.
Yep. Yeah, a superstar catcher.
Superstar catcher. I want a Johnny Bench back there.
That's right. And Molina could catch.
Yeah.
He knew how to call a game.
Oh, God, yeah.
Okay hitter. He's a pretty good hitter. He can put the bat on the ball. Let's put it that way. Yeah. But he's older. We knew it. Everybody knew he was getting older.
Yeah.
And he just, and all of a sudden we started winning, and it was like, wait, we're winning a lot. Huff's hitting real well. We're starting to put up. Now we're competing. We're sold out every night. Mm-hmm. We got flair. Wilson's got his flair going on, and then Romo and then myself. We're pitching. Casillas starting to pitch pretty good. Vogie all of a sudden comes in, makes an all-star team, and Zito gets hurt, and all of a sudden, so we got that guy.
Matt Cain is flaming.
Dominating.
And
we're hearing about this Bumgarner kid, too, but everybody's like, he's 20. 19.
He had a little brashness in him. He got into a little trouble in Double-A, but
So everybody's like, when he's probably not ready. We're like, whatever. And so we were hearing about it, but we didn't know. And the next thing you know, we were like, hey, we got to make a trade. We traded Molina to the Rangers. Buster comes in, and I'm like, oh, man. Now I got to trust this guy to actually we're in the middle of a pretty good freaking run here, and we just traded our catcher that knows us to a guy that doesn't. We got to trust this guy. I was like, man. And I remember he came in first game, and he had 3 knocks. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm like, well, he can hit. And I was like, so we got that. And then and his swing was beautiful, so you could see he could hit. And he was catching games, and guys were putting up zeros. And all of a sudden, he comes in for me, and he's like, he would check feet. Boom. It would be the right call every time. And I'd be like, well, all right. We got a little something here.
Yeah.
Then he started leading. Now he started hitting. He was actually a game changer when he hit. He actually came up with big hits. He came up, big calls at the
point. That last series against San Diego, he had a couple of home runs that were
huge, big time. And we're like, oh man.
And then you got Pat the Bat Burrell.
That's right.
And then
Cody
Ross, who was just. He was a pain in the neck of the playoffs.
Yeah,
right?
And Bunn came in at the end there and just started shoving. We're like, well, now we got a 20-year-old that's just freaking. He came up in 2009 for the last month just because they thought, and we knew he was good. But I'm like, this guy, who is? I mean, he literally is a kid, and I just remember all of those things to a point where even in the rookie, we could still do some fun stuff with rookies. You can't do as much anymore, but I wouldn't let anybody touch Buster. Nope. He does not need to be pissed off at us. So no one make him mad because he's calling the pitches. So we're not doing that. I wouldn't let anybody. I didn't make him dress. I didn't make him do nothing. I was like, nope, he's off limits. He is off limits. I don't care.
Because Jason Grimsley was your protector.
Yeah.
You were his
That's
protector.
right. I said, he is off limits.
Right.
Bum, I made Bum do all kinds of stuff. But I was like, Buster is off limits. No one touched that guy.
And Madison Bumgarner's not a small guy either.
He's not. He had to live, but he was still young enough that he wasn't as he wasn't
as sophisticated where he could just say, hey,
tell you what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So he had to live with me in September because he didn't know if he'd. So he didn't have a place to stay. So he had to live with me in September. And I made him make me cookies every night. He had an apron. Oh man, he had an apron on. He had to make cookies. He does not like me retelling those stories. He gets so mad. So he had to serve me cookies every night. Him and his wife stayed there, and he had. I wouldn't let his wife do it. Like Bum, cookies. So I said, you're here rent free. So he made me cookies. We had a great time, and I remember he was so nervous. He was, I don't know if I'm going to make the playoff team. I'm like, what? Are you nuts? He's like, well, they're only going to take 3 starters and then bullpen. I'm like, hey, dude, you'll be fine. That I don't know. And we're pacing, and all of a sudden they say he made the starter, and I'm like, and then game four throws an unbelievable game, and he gets on the bus, and we're listening to the interview because he's late.
And the Rangers won game 3, so now it's a series,
it's
right?
A big
they beat
series.
Jonathan Sanchez.
That's right. 2-1,
right.
And if Bum loses, it's a swing game.
And didn't he have to face Cole Hamels, who was their number 1 starter?
Yep, Cole Hamels, number 1 starter, and then we had Lefty from Cleveland that faced game 5, curveball guy.
Oh gosh,
I always forget him. That's who we beat.
Can't remember.
But they're both aces,
Sure.
Cole Hamels and then the next, it was so funny because it was like we go in and Bum beats him, and the next thing you know, like we're listening to the interview, and he was like, "Yeah, man, it kind of felt like my high school championship game." And we're all looking around like, did that kid just say this feels like his high school state championship game? Like, there's 8 people in the stands in your state championship game. You live in Timbuktu. There's 50,000 people. Like, you said state. So we wore him out. We're like, oh, state championship game. He's like, I didn't know what else to say. It was awesome. I'm like, it's a little more than that, Bum. Like, we're freaking 1 game away. And so, but that's his mentality. He literally pitches out there with it. You're not good. Like, that's his thing.
Yeah.
No. You're just a freaking. I'm gonna get you out. Like that's his thought, man.
Was it Cliff Lee?
Cliff Lee.
Cliff Lee. There you go.
Is who we beat in game 5.
His antics with Yasiel Puig of the Dodgers were just legendary.
He did not like. They did not like each other.
No.
Any chance they and he.
How magical was it, really? I mean, to finally just get over the hump, because you guys had you with the Rockies, you had a magical postseason. You swept the NL postseason, but then you get swept by the Red Sox.
Yep.
But this, and keep in mind, too, the Giants had to go 20-9 in September to win the division.
Yeah, we were 10 games out going in, and we ended up swinging it.
Right.
It was weird.
And then that's when Aubrey Huff put the thong on.
Yeah,
and
the thong, the red thong. The red thong. Then the beard came out.
Oh, yeah. And then him with the gimp, which was Pat Burrell.
Dude.
I never saw that in the Fox. Is just incredible. But I just know that you gave so many Giants fans finally. I mean, a lot of people, like I said in our text, it was like in my text last night, I said, a lot of us can die happy people because of what you guys did. It was just absolutely magical because it came out of nowhere.
It came out of nowhere, and we didn't really understand what it meant. So a couple guys, Renneria
until you went to the parade, right?
Yep. Uribe and Renneria had won World Series before.
Right.
Pat Burrell had won one. So it was like they kind of understood. We didn't know. So once we win and we're on the plane back and we're all like, did we seriously we just won the freaking World Series. And we're on the plane back and they're showing clips on the TVs of San Francisco. I mean, they're flipping cars and we're like, what? And they're like burning the Texas flag. I mean, they were going nuts. I'm like, where are we going? We're going to a war zone. They're like, they're celebrating. So we land. And we get on the bus and we're heading back, and the freaking freeway is lined with cars. Yep. Everybody's standing on their cars. They've been waiting for the bus. I mean, it was nuts. And we get back, and everybody's freaking out. Well, we got to get this parade going. Well, I vowed I wouldn't shave. That's when the beard came in. I wouldn't shave until we were done with the playoffs. Well, now I'm ready to shave because at that time I didn't have really a beard.
Right.
And I was itching. So I'm like, oh, man. So I went and got a shave, and I remember I was at the barbershop getting a shave, and a lady walked in, and she looked at me, and she's like, are you Jeremy? I'm like, I'm under a straight razor. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. She's like,
I'll be anything you want me to be.
Dude, she started crying, and she's, you don't understand. We've went our whole lives. My husband, he's alive. He's just saying he's 80 years. I mean, he's just so old. He didn't think it would ever happen.
Yeah.
Like, you don't understand what you did. And they start crying, and she starts kissing my forehead. I'm like, ma'am. And I'm under this straight razor. And the lady had to stop straight. She was like, ma'am, can you, I got a straight blade on his neck. Can you please stop kissing? I'm like, and I can't move. I'm like, oh, God. She's a little old lady, man. She was just all excited, man.
Just to give you some perspective, I don't know a Giants fan who doesn't know about 10 to 15 Dodger fans.
Yeah, right.
And we're friendly.
Right. Yeah.
But I will tell you, 2002, after we lost the World Series to the Angels, that was painful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I remember my boss, who was a Dodgers fan, he actually called me from his vacation in Cabo to rub my nose in it. And it was hard, but I didn't talk to him for 6 months.
Yeah.
So guess what? The minute that last out was recorded in 2010, I called him up and I said, say it, Dave.
Yeah.
Say it. No, congratulations. No, congratulations on what, Dave?
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
You exercise. You guys exercise a lot of demons for us, and it was just like Brian Sabian called it at the post-game celebration in the 2014 World Series. It was Camelot in San Francisco.
Yeah. Oh, it was.
It was just amazing. And for you, I mean, you're one of few with 3 World Series rings, and I'll never forget your post-game on-field interview. I think it was with J.P. Morosi, or maybe it was someone, I can't remember who it was, but it was a very heartfelt interview that really touched a lot of us because you were thinking about other people. You were thinking about, namely, your sons.
Yeah, my boys, Walker, so all 3 boys were born on the World Series years. Walker was born in the 07, though, so it's when we lost. So he had a loser ring, right? He had an NL championship ring.
Right.
And the other 2 got World Series rings. And so that was the biggest deal for me. When we won it, the first thing that went in my head was like, now all 3 of my boys. And it's not because of the World Series rings. It's just I want them to have something that represents not, ooh, look what Dad did. It's, no. I want you to represent what hard work looks like.
Yeah.
This is what I want you to see. Hard work. It's not the ring. And I told my sons this. I've told plenty of people this. If my sons say, hey, what was your dad? What do you remember about your dad? If it's like he won 3 world championships, if I ever can get a future look of them saying that, I'll burn those rings or I'll throw those rings away.
Yeah.
That's not what I want to be known for by my sons. But if my sons can understand that they that is a memory they can have. One, it was, the 10 and 12, especially for Colt and Logan, those were birth years. But Walker understanding that 14, it was that was for you. That those things are like, I work hard for my family. I have a why. I pursue what I did because I want my boys to see what discipline looks like, what hard work looks like, what accomplishing something looks like. It's not sports. It's not world championships rings. It's dedication and having a purpose to work. Whatever your job is, you have a purpose for it. That's what those rings represent, and that's what I want them to see. So they all 3 got them now. So and it was more selfish, like Walker would have got the 07 ring, but the other boys would be like, yeah, mine's World Series. So I was just like glad that argument can be taken out of the equation now with the boys. But the rings mean something more than just World Championship rings.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I listen to you talk, and we encounter a lot of people in our lives, but the fact that your man of faith is ringing, coming out. So I appreciate that very much.
Super important to me, man. My faith is a big deal. Still to this family, man. We handle things like Jesus, man. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Your faith is very big for you. Your causes are very big to you. Tell us about some of the things that you are working on now, because you told a story of your work in Malaysia to rescue
Myanmar, Thailand,
in Thailand. It's just an incredible what you're doing, because there is a Jeremy Affeldt past baseball that is even more amazing than what you did.
Yeah, and that was my biggest fear about stopping playing, is I wanted to be impactful, right? So I'm like, man, you leave that realm. Once you leave baseball, no one cares about you. I mean, when's the last time you've heard the name Jeter? Like,
he does work with me, so he hears it regularly.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like take anybody that decides to retire that's super, super awesome and famous. And
Barry Bonds. Since he retired in the game, nobody talks about him.
Right. And even Buster would be that. But the only reason they're talking Buster is because he's president of the team.
Right.
But if he didn't, the game moves on.
That's right.
It just does. And so the impact moves on too sometimes, because it's not. It's good to have people around, but then it's like, yeah, I'll be retired. I'd rather have an active guy here or whatever, So it's different. So I was worried about impact, right? So that's why I stayed with the team even after I played, did community stuff with them, still made impact because I could be a part of their community scenarios, because I want to be impactful. And so as the years go on, it's like, man, how do I continue being that? And that's why I started the brewery, because I was like, I want to be a community impact. And this is why I do stuff here at the brewery. I don't just have a brewery. I have men's night every third Thursday. I bring in people to speak, talk to men. And what happens, so I bring in huge speakers. I brought in Jeff Robertson from Duck Dynasty. I brought in David Cook. I've brought in Jason Grimsley. I bring in guys that can kind of talk about storms, kind of what I do in my podcast, and tell their story, because I want men to go home. Because usually when you do a men's night or a men's conference, you go and it's like, okay, let's just hear about how big of a turd you are, and then you got to go home and apologize to your wife and kids. That's what I get out of it, like, great. I don't want to do that. I want to have a men's night where it's like, hey, we know that you probably could be a better husband and better father. Yeah, everybody can. It's hard. It's hard being a husband, and it's hard being a father, and it's hard being a wife, and it's hard being a mother. We can all be better. I want you to know that you can be. not that you aren't. I want you to know that, hey, everybody goes through it, man, but we can do it. And I want you going home feeling like $1 million, where you go home to your wife and says, you know what? Maybe I do have to apologize, and I will, but I'm going to tell you, I'm not apologizing just because I'm sorry. I'm apologizing because I will be better, because I can be, because I just heard an amazing story. It says I can be. So I want to go bring that to men. And then I want to be that with youth too. Like I still want youth to know that people care about them, and communities care about the youth. That's why we had the Little League watch parties here. We help out with Roy Moss, or we have other youth organizations that we take care of. I have a Generation Alive. I have a youth organization up in Spokane, Washington, and I've kind of stepped away from them because they're so far away, but they're running with it. It's great. They're serving people in impoverished youth. I want that. I want that impact. I want to be able to speak into that. And how can I do that? Well, I wrote another book coming out in about a month.
Oh, really?
So I'm excited for that on the Buffalo mentality, on how to take on storms, because I know that's going to give me speaking roles, and I'll be able to speak on impact. Not, come speak about how you were a World Series champion. I don't want to speak on that. I can speak on why that's a part of the process, but I want to speak on how it can impact your life. So those are the things that I speak on impactful, and so I do different scenarios to do that. And for me, it's super important, because it continues my why. Because if not, you'll get selfish, and once you get selfish, you become obsolete. No one cares about you, And I want to be an impactful person that my boys can see that, hey man, we're making an impact past the front door of our home. We're an influence in our community in a positive way. That's why we're here. That's why the brewery's here. I want to be able to connect. I want to be able to talk to people and use the brewery success to influence. That's why we had the Headstrong Classic. We put that on. Right. It was all from the brewery standpoint and stuff. So that's what we're doing, and that's what I want to do, because I want to be able to be impactful still.
So how can our listeners help you help the children of this world?
There's all kinds of things you can do. For me, it's obviously Roy Moss Youth Alternative is a great start here locally. There's Generation Alive up in Spokane. There's Not For Sale in San Francisco. There's a lot of great youth organizations in San Francisco. My goodness, because you have to understand. For me, I focus a lot of stuff on even men too. I like to bring impact for men, because I think men have a huge influence, and it's not that women don't. I'm sure there's a lot of people are going to be fired up I said that, but the reality of it is I believe that men are starting to forget who they are. And if we do that, we're losing our families and we're losing our children.
Amen to that.
So I'm just trying to I like focusing on men a lot, because I went through a terrible storm. My divorce was terrible. I have a beautiful wife now. She's an amazing woman. She put on that golf tournament. She freaking killed it. And
I don't know how the two of you did it, especially her. Because
it was crazy.
Takes like 20 people to run a golf tournament. It went off without a hitch. So
it was nuts.
Kudos to Candace.
And she's super smart. She's great. But it's still the storm I was in. And I want men to know, hey, you don't know what storm's coming. You don't know what it is. It doesn't have to be divorce. It could be all kinds of stuff, the loss of a major job. But it's going to hit you, and I want you to be able to keep going. So I love that focus, but I also like the focus of saying that to youth. Hey, man, storms are going to hit you guys, and some of the youth go through some terrible stuff. The trafficking that goes on, I'm a big advocate on ending human trafficking, because it's like, man, the stuff that those kids get put in, my goodness. Their identity gets destroyed, and it's not their fault. They have no choice. Like, they're just in it. So to be able to look outside yourself and say, how can we impact the youth? These are our next generational leaders. We've seen the chaos in this country from crazy leaders. Regardless of who you vote for, we're a mess in D.C. We just are.
Right.
So we need to have leaders that are in our communities, in our states, in our countries, all because they were told that they can get through storms and influence in the right way to keep a positive message going, because it is all about loving your neighbor as yourself. And if we can do that, we're fine. And my tattoo on my left forearm, it says, no man shall live for himself. That's my family's motto of love your neighbor. Don't live for yourself, live for others. If we do that, my goodness, you're going to do a lot of good things. It doesn't matter who you are. You're going to take care of kids. You're going to be impactful in men's life. You're going to be impactful in women's. You're going to be impactful in the community. And that's what the concept as an athlete for me too. Like, you have a huge platform. Use it, So that's kind of what I do, and what I do for it.
That's speechless.
Really. Yeah. Couldn't end on a better note. Jeremy, Thank you so much for your time. We're honored. Absolutely. We're blessed. I feel that we can go for at least another hour. But, we just want to respect your time, and we hope that if you have the time, you can get back on our show sometime in the future. It'd be wonderful, because I'm sure you have way more stories that are just incredibly impactful on and off the field. But we just really want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us.
Heck yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right, that'll do it for this episode of Picked Off with Mike and Eric, featuring our special guest, Jeremy Affeldt. We want to thank Jeremy for joining us. We also want to thank all of you for listening in. We also want to thank you for all of your feedback. We want to make this show better because we do it for you. You can catch us every week on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on X at @TheBitterMike, or on Instagram, Bitterback1963. Jeremy, do you have a handle on social media you want to pop out?
Oh, man, there's Jeremy Affeldt on Instagram. There's Free Room Brewing Company on Instagram. Also on Facebook, the same handle. Be great.
Super. Great. Thank you so much. Time is precious, so we appreciate you spending some of yours with us, talking the great game of baseball and of life. Have a great week, everyone. See ya.
See ya.
I'm talking baseball. Klazuski, Campanella, talking baseball. The man and Bobby Fella, the Scooter, the Barber, and the Duke. They knew them all from Boston to Dubuque, especially Willie, Mickey, and the Duke.